Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much to Madrid Excelente for having me here, and indeed to you all for welcoming an Irish woman to a Spanish conference. I feel very, very happy to be here with you today. What I'm going to speak about is the rewards of being positive. And Abel shared with us his own method for success, but what I want to give you is my proven business recipe to open up new opportunities, and particularly basing on the themes of today's conference, which is trust and collaboration. This is the result of the recipe. This is a piece that was written by the European Commission, and it was called Opportunities Multiply for Economist in Ireland. And it was the way in which I had engaged with a country called Malta, or as you call them, Malta, a couple of years ago. So, how did it all begin? Well, when I was a little girl, I always wanted to be in business. Always, always, always. But I had absolutely no idea how to do it. But the thing is, when you're a little girl, that doesn't matter. So I actually set up my own business, and my teddies were my clients. And that was a really, really nice way to start because they never complained, and my customer service department was quite easy to manage at the time. So when I got to be a bigger girl, then I decided I wanted to set up my business for real. And then I made a promise to myself in September 2010 that I wanted to begin to export. But this is how it looked like, is that I had no clear way through the forest. How would I begin? Where would I start? Who could I ask for help? But I made a promise to myself, and that was that no matter how small the opportunity, I had to take it. Didn't matter how small, didn't matter where it came from, didn't matter how scary it was, I had to take the opportunity. And so, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, I took the moment and I made it perfect. And as I listened to Alejandra this morning, when she opened up and she spoke about the fact that this was the 7th conference, I wondered whether she waited for the perfect moment to start this event or whether she simply took the moment. And to me, right now, it looks pretty perfect. So what was the first thing that I did? Well, I decided that I needed to get my ingredients together. And my ingredients for this recipe included a product. And the product was me. It was financial training. It was where I was going to go to companies and organizations and teach them about the financial markets, economics, and entrepreneurship. And indeed, I don't have to remind you what was going on in Ireland in November 2010, given the fact that the IMF were in town and they weren't staying in a hotel like a Bell's. Let's just put it that way. Then what I also needed was a sales pitch. I needed it to be prepared and sharpened. And I definitely needed creativity. I absolutely needed flexibility. And I just needed that little sprinkle of Irish look that you all know about on St. Patrick's Day. So, what came next? Well, as far as I could see, it takes as much energy to dream or to wish as it does to plan. So I said to myself, okay, what could I do now? And I kid you not, I sat down on my kitchen table and I wrote down, I got a packet of Post-its, and I wrote down every single possible thing, realistic, unrealistic, far-fetched, every person I could think of that could help me begin my dream, which was, of course, to export. Now, the very first thing I did was do like what you've all been doing over here on your left, is on my left, your right, and that is I started to engage on digital media. Because when you start working on Twitter, or on LinkedIn, or on Facebook, or on Snapchat, or on whatever other element of digital tools that are available to you, you don't have to leave the office. I didn't have to get a plane ticket. I simply didn't have to go anywhere. So that's what I started to do first, was think about, okay, maybe there's LinkedIn groups I could join. Maybe there are Twitter hashtags like today that I could participate in. Maybe there's conversations online that I could start with. Maybe I could start to build my network that way. And then the second thing, and this was far more impactful, was that I actually joined the Irish International Business Network. And if I was trying to grow my business here in Spain, I would simply do the same. I looked and I saw that there was a Spanish-Irish business network, for example. Because you see, when you're somebody from Ireland, in Ireland, you're nothing special. But when you're somebody from Ireland abroad, you've instantly got a connection. And that is the very essence of collaboration. That is how you build trust. So to any of you listening here today in the audience and you want to bring your business international, remember, instantly, think about your own nationality and think about the people who have gone ahead of you and where they are and can you connect with them. So what I did was that I wanted to become part of a network where people would instantly accept me, and that was one way of doing it. But that's not all. I wanted to be around people who did what I wanted to do without questioning if they could. I wanted to be around people who were 100% confident they could achieve every single day what they wanted to achieve without question. Because you see, that's what holds us back, is not whether we can do it or not. It's whether we believe we can do it or not. And personally, again, when I look to somebody like Alejandra, she has organised this conference year after year after year. She didn't question whether she could do it. She just did. And they were the type of people that I wanted to be around. I wanted to be around people who exported before breakfast. They exported before they even thought about work in the morning. So that's, first of all, that was my preparation. And as one of my favourite Chinese proverbs is, if you want to know the road ahead, ask those coming back. So that was the next thing I did. And I started talking to people who exported, what was their experience, who did they talk to, what did they learn, etc. And it's funny because now I'm the person that's coming back. I'm the person that people are asking about. And let me tell you, I am more than willing to share my expertise, more than willing to tell anybody who might be interested in my story, and more than willing to give any help to anybody who might be pursuing the path ahead. So when we think about where we want to achieve, and I think, today, 23rd of March, why can't today be the start of the rest of our lives? Why do we need to wait until the 1st of January to start our New Year's resolutions? What's wrong with today? What's wrong with questioning, where could I be by the 23rd of April? Why don't we think about new month's resolutions? Or why don't we start right now? So that's what I did. And I asked those coming back, and I would really encourage you to for you to go to those. Talk to people here today who are doing what you want to do and who have already achieved it, and ask them what they can do for you and how they can help. So then on to my method. Now that I had my preparation done, now that I had my ingredients together, now that I had my product, etc., now the rubber really needed to hit the road. So here's what I did next. I kept that promise to myself of doing the very, very, very smallest thing that I could do to move forward. And that was, I got an email in from the Chamber of Commerce in Dublin to say that a trade delegation from Malta was coming to town. So I said, okay, this is it. I'm going in and I'm going to meet these people. And I remember on the day, I couldn't find parking, I was late, I was cranky, I had so many emails in my inbox. It was, oh my God, I just needed a day off. And I remember calling my husband. Now, by the way, I'm not on the waiting list, the 500 weddings that goes on every year in, was it the Caribbean? Yeah, I passed that waiting list. Pity I didn't hear about you before. I certainly would have held off. However, so anyway, I turned up and went in and I sat down and I met these people. And I spoke to them about what I did, and they spoke to me about what they did. And then I came home that night and I said to my husband, I think I'm going to go. He said, go where? I said, I think I'm going to go to Malta. And he said, do you know where Malta is? And I said, no. However, I hope the airline pilot does, because that's all that matters. And that's what happened. So then, now I know Iberia are sponsoring today's conference, so I'm not going to mention the low-cost airline in Ireland who gave me the flight. Let's not talk about them. So what I did was I booked a flight, and I'm not joking, it was January 2011, it was €30 return from Dublin to Malta. And what I did was I did three things. Number one was that I contacted the Enterprise Europe Network. Now, these are all the offices of the Enterprise Europe Network in Spain. As you can see, they're all over the country. And this is a European Commission funded body that helps SMEs export. And I went to them and I said, I'm thinking of going to Malta. I don't know anybody there. And I want to start exporting. Can you help me? They said, who would you like to meet? And I said, anybody involved in finance. And what they acted like a business consultancy for me in Malta for free. So they came back to me with 15 meetings presented to me in the diary. I didn't have to pick up the phone to a single Maltese company. I contacted the Enterprise Europe Network in Dublin, they contacted them in Malta, and then Malta did the work for me. And you paid for it with your taxes, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So you personally can avail of this, and I have to say it's a superb organisation, and I have used them in London and in Bristol, and I have used them in Holland, and I've used them in Belgium. I've used them all over Europe, so certainly I would really encourage you to do that. So that was the first thing I did. The second thing I did was I approached Malta Enterprise. Now, a similar organisation in your case is investinspain.org. So what I did was I said to Malta Enterprise, I'm going to come over, I'm looking to do business in Malta, can you help me? And what they said to me was, absolutely. We will provide you with a driver for the full week that you're in Malta to go between your meetings. So suddenly I'm a chauffeur-driven multinational. And all I simply did was just have to ask. Now remember, they organised the trade mission to Dublin, so this was a key result from them. And when I looked at your organisation, investinspain.org, you have huge amounts of bilateral organisations. So, for example, you have the British-Spanish Chamber of Commerce. You have the French-Spanish Chamber of Commerce. So, whatever country you're seeking to trust and collaborate with in Europe, you have an organisation already built for you. So, you don't even have to do all the work that I had to do. And thirdly, I needed more of me. Now, my husband would say that he has enough in one of me, but I felt we needed more. So, the third thing I did was contact the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. And this is another European Commission-funded body. So, let's say you're somebody who is under 6 months in business, or you're pre-revenue, and you want to learn how to do business in Europe. Well, Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs will link you up with a host company in another part of Europe and will pay your wages for up to 6 months while you're there. Similarly, if you're over 3 years in business, like I am, I can actually get somebody to come into my business. And again, the European Commission will fund their wages for up to 6 months. So if any of you were feeling like you could badly do with some other hands or heads in your organisation, look to Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. This is how trust and collaboration is really formed. Is because these people can come to my business, learn how a business is run. I effectively get 6 months of free labour. And remember, they're entrepreneurial, so they have the mindset that they want to cultivate and grow. So this is truly a fantastic organisation. And honestly, I'll tell you this. This organisation has launched 5 times in Ireland, and I was the MC for the last one because they cannot get enough people to actually pay out these wages to. There simply aren't enough people to apply for this. This is non-competitive. So this means if you apply, you cannot be shot down. It's non-competitive. The money is there. You simply need to go for it. And the other thing is when you see the term young entrepreneur, now you're all more than young anyway. I can tell that from here in the dark. However, the young piece refers to the age of the business, not to the age of the person. So that's what it means about the 3 years. So if I'm under 3 years in business or pre-revenue, I'm called a young entrepreneur, even if I'm 90, and I still intend to be in business when I'm 90. In fact, I'd love to come back and tell you about that story too. So this was my method, step 1, step 2, step 3. And off I went. And here is what I did, is that I literally broke down one barrier after the next, after the next, after the next. So anyway, I arrived out there, January 2011, had my 15 meetings, had my driver, had all I needed. Surely now it was going to be easy. Well, I would love to tell you that that was the case. However, it wasn't. Because I got out there, and I have to tell you, that morning, that Monday morning, I remember literally shaking inside in my bed in my hotel with fear. I was thinking, how am I going to do this? Like, do these people speak English even? I mean, I'd found out where they were because the airline pilot dropped me there, but that's all I knew. And I was saying, do they really need training? I mean, why would they choose me? What if they can't understand me? What if I speak too fast? What if? And I had all of these problems built up in my head. So anyway, went into the first meeting and I walked up this big marble staircase. And the person at the top said, "Hello, Susan, you're very welcome to Malta. So, tell me what you do." And in that moment, most of my fears dropped. They dropped because I realised all I had to do was do business. The fact that I was in a different country, that just made it all the more exciting. That's all. So all the fears I had around exporting, you know where they all were? In my head. They weren't real. And that's the point that I would say is that one of my favourite quotes of all time is from Peter Drucker, and that is that he says, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so often, we turn around right at the moment when we are going to strike our diamond. That's exactly the point at which we're going to stop. The darkest hour is right before the dawn. And there were many times over the past 4 years when I have felt like, oh my God, this is so hard. Because sometimes you're away for, you could be away for weeks at a time. And sometimes, one time I had an allergic reaction to a mosquito bite and I ended up in hospital over there and there was nobody around me and all of these sorts of things. And those are the types of times when you think, wouldn't it be so much easier if I stayed in Dublin? And the answer is yes, it would be far easier. But what fun would that be? And this is the point, is that my business is now 60% export-led. We do business in Malta, in the UK, in Belgium, in Holland, in the US, and now in Spain. So the point of the matter is that if I had not taken those first couple of steps, I wouldn't be anywhere now. I would be at home, just still dreaming. The one point I would say is that make sure and keep an eye on your margins. Make sure when you look at exporting, you remember VAT. International VAT can be a very nasty surprise. Number 2 is to remember that there's costs involved in going there. So when people say, can we meet with you tomorrow? That's a lot more costly than if you're at home. And thirdly, remember, you have to leave the business. So there's a cost in your time while you're gone. So that was my business recipe. And now what I want to give you is a framework before I go. So first of all, my model that I want to give you today is how to grow. G is goal. I want to begin exporting profitably in 2015. R is for reality. What's holding you back? Well, it might be I'm worried about my existing business. I don't know where to start. I'm afraid what people might say if it doesn't work out. Well, then consider, what have you got control over and what have you not control over? So whatever you've control over, put the letter C beside it. Whatever you don't have control over, forget about it. There's nothing you can do about that anyway. And then O. G is for goal, R for realities, O for opportunities. What could you do to surmount those realities? Well, you can budget your time, your effort and resources, as well as use Anton's 16-year-old's daughter, digital flexibility. And also, if you don't know where to start, look for trade missions, international networks, hashtags, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, the most important letter is W. G is for goal, R is for reality, O is for opportunity, but W makes the difference. W is, what am I going to do about it? So it might be you're going to open a spreadsheet with all the opportunities you can find. You're going to plan a trip and use Eventbrite to find conferences. You could approach the agencies for funding. But please remember that by going after what you truly want, you absolutely empower others to follow in your footsteps. Thank you very much.